So I did a stream the other day about my sort of interview with a soft MAGA guy. Well, I just got a text from him. Let's take a look.
Everyone's talking about MAGA is fighting with Elon Musk. So I actually already recorded this video commenting on these text messages. Unfortunately, I had the audio settings incorrectly set, so I'm now recording the entire video over again the second time. So go ahead and give me a like and a subscribe for effort, because I'm really busy. And the idea of me spending double the time to do this video, bring this to you guys, I think is worthy of a like, because I should be going, I should not be doing this right now. Anyway, let's get to it. So after the conversation that I talked about in my live stream yesterday, I asked him, what kind of is a soft MAGA guy. I want to get an idea of, why he thought the things that he did. Where is he getting these ideas from? So I want to know what kind of media he's consuming. All he said in the conversation was Joe Rogan, right? And he mentioned podcasts. And one thing I thought was very curious about him is that he kept talking about the bureaucrats. I'm surprised he hadn't mentioned Steve Bannon, because to me that sounds like Steve Bannon language. Maybe he was afraid to show me Steve Bannon because Steve Bannon's a little bit out there, I guess. I don't know. But like every time I kept redirecting him to the reason the government is as bad as it is because of the billionaire interests, the corporations who are buying, the politicians are doing what they're doing because of the money. I'm saying follow the money, right? Don't focus on the bureaucrats. Focus on who's pulling their strings, right? Why are these so-called bureaucrats doing what they're doing? Right? Because of the money. He kept rejecting that, and he kept flipping to, it's the bureaucrats, and I'm like, but why are they doing it? He's talking about the money. I'm like, what money? He's talking about like their salaries, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, what kind of salaries are you talking about? And then he says they're making six figures, whatever. So I'm like, he never gave me a number. So I'm like, like $170,000, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, that's peanuts. That's nothing, right? And I also referenced that a lot of these people that are getting these types of salaries, like the senators, for example, they're living in two different locations, because when they're in D.C., they need a place to stay in D.C., and then they have a home wherever their states are, so when you consider the cost of DC and you consider two different homes, 170 is not that much money, right? And that's not really what it's all about. I mean, if you're talking about corruption, the $170,000 they're making, that is nowhere in that conversation. That's them just making a salary, right? When you talk about corruption, corruption is in the millions, not no 100,000, whatever, right? These same 100,000, people are millionaires. They didn't get to that from their $170,000. But anyway, he just totally rejected that. He just wanted to stick on this, vague, it's bureaucrats. Anyway, so I said, tell me who you listen to. And he said he would send me some links. Here are the links. So as I referenced, I don't want to say too much, but this person is a client. So I'm doing what I always do for all of my clients, giving them 110%. I'm really big on customer service. So he's thanking me for me going above and beyond for them, even in a moment where my finances are not great right now at all. And I went and I spent money I didn't have for this person who is a client. Anyway, so he was thanking me for that, and then he sent me these links. So the first one, of course, is you can see some Elon Musk status link. Naturally, of course, we're going to start with Elon Musk. But anyway, let's click on that link and see what it is he's sharing.
2025.
Oh,
however,
my
several
goodness.
things past disaster relief as a separate bill. Rather than
In my view, an excellent video in terms of it is very convincing, and I think a lot of Americans will watch this video and be misled. I don't think he's necessarily being bad faith. He might actually believe in the things he's saying, which is why it's so effective, perhaps, because...
Sorry, I had to cut that short because of the background audio. I don't know what's up with Twitter. As you can see, I muted the video, but somehow the sound is still being broadcast somewhere that the application that I'm using to record the screen was picking it up. So it's like you hear him talking over me, and I'm making an executive decision not to continue with that segment and moving on to the next, because I just don't think it's going to sound very good to you guys. Sorry about that. And unfortunately, that was me recording it for the second time. First time, none of my audio was on there, and that was my mistake. So I can't do a third time. I spent too much time on this video as it is. Sorry, guys. So let's move on.
The next thing he sent me is Chris Williamson. So when the left wing was out of control, I posted a lot of videos calling them out, a lot of the violence. I called out, for example, the Chicago ambush, which in my view was a Black Lives Matter Antifa collaboration. Basically is, ambushing the Chicago police. That was pretty bad, and I don't think anyone in left-wing media covered it, just like right-wing media doesn't cover when their side goes crazy. But at that time, because I was commenting on a lot of left-wing media stuff, because they were the ones that were out of control at that time, in some ways, a lot of left-wing people weren't interested in what I had to say, but a lot of right-wing people were. They perhaps enjoyed, when I would call out the left for their hypocrisy and dishonesty, and they came, and, my channel was mostly, I didn't like that. I wanted a bipartisan audience. I'm bipartisan, I wanted a bipartisan audience. I wanted to have, my perfect vision for this channel is 50% of the people are conservative, 50% of the people are, left-wing people. And at that point, I think it was predominantly right-wing. One of those people was a very heavy subscriber, commenting a lot. I think we even talked a little bit offline. And I asked this person because for years I had pointed out that, I recognize propaganda all over our media, left, right, and center. But on the right, it's particularly bad in terms of, I can easily find a few people on the left that I would consider good faith. Typically, these people I would consider to be naive on some things, but generally good faith. I believe they believe in what they're saying, right? They're still propagandists, but they believe in what they're saying, right? I can't do that on the right. I can't think of one name right now who is a good faith right-wing influencer, whether it's a YouTuber or otherwise. Not even a single name, right? That is insane. But I asked this guy, a conservative subscriber, could you tell me somebody? Because I want to understand the conservative perspective. That was my goal, right? One of my goals, right? I want to understand where the conservatives are coming from. I want to understand where the left is coming from. I couldn't get the conservative perspective because there was really no conservative media. All we had was anti-liberal media, right? People that were making a living dunking on the left, dunking on liberals. That's their focus. That was the business model. So, I didn't even know whether these people were actually conservatives at all, right? Because you have people like Tim Pool, for example, right? So there was a business model of anti-liberal content. So how do I get to know? Because I'm not interested in their business model, right? I'm here for my audience. I'm here for regular Americans, right? Who will have conservative views, who will have liberal views, right? So I want to understand those people, right? And I'm not getting that from these business people in right-wing media. So I wanted someone who genuinely spoke for the American conservative. And he said Chris Williamson. So he says this guy does some good podcasts. Now, it's been a while since I looked at his content, but if I remember correctly, my perspective on him was he was kind of, I would put him in the realm of the highbrow MAGA type person. So like a Ben Shapiro, right? Ben Shapiro comes across to many on the right, good faith actor, you may disagree with him, but he really believes in the things that he's saying, and, he's the one who will, be not afraid to critique his own side, hey, he actually called out Donald Trump one time, I would see Chris Williamson as that type of person. So he doesn't come across as wacky like a Steven Crowder or something. I guess because this person I'm talking about, I think he agreed with me in general that Ben Shapiro was a little bit hacky, I think. So I think he would tell me that Chris Williamson is a better version of Ben Shapiro. I don't know if he used those exact words, but imagine Ben Shapiro, but not so ideological, perhaps. I don't know if that's what I want to use. Dogmatic, I don't know. Ben Shapiro light, leave it at that. Anyway, send me Lex Fridman is an interesting guy. Lex Fridman, so he says he's terrific and a nonpartisan. I don't know about the nonpartisan part, sir. But Lex Fridman, unlike Joe Rogan, is someone who I could actually learn from, not necessarily him, but his content, which is ironically mirroring what this soft MAGA guy was telling me about the podcast. He said it's not about the podcast, it's about the guests. Right? So I think it definitely applies here because Lex Fridman, I think you could look at it as more educational. It's unfortunate, his political bias, and I don't know, man. Let's leave it at that. But he will bring on legitimate experts. He had on the person who came up with the Python programming language. He had some artificial intelligence experts. So not the Brett Weinstein types, right? I mean, legitimate experts who are leaders in their field, major contributors who are out there doing the thing, right? Not the ones who are more on the grifter type side or, washed up people or whatever it is. So, you listen to these people and you can actually learn from the content. I think a lot of it is scientific, mathematical, definitely. It's very tech, a lot of tech content there. And Lex Fridman does ask some very thoughtful questions. Maybe not so much when you get into politics, but that's the partisanship, right? But when he's talking with these types of tech icons, more so the actual creators and innovators as opposed to the CEOs. Not that he doesn't have CEOs, but I can't even think of a CEO that's been on there. I'm sure there's been some CEOs. But it's good content. I just think him as a person, he's a little bit naive. And, the whole, welcome to the Lex Fridman podcast, and, everyone should love each other, and, let's all shake hands and hug, and can't we all just get along, guys? I don't know, man. I'm not for that, nothing against anything he's saying. It's just, I don't know, it just seems very artificial to me. That's just my opinion. And then, of course, you got Brett. He says he is brilliant. And he sends me just to his channel, so not to a particular video. So he just likes this guy in general. And then he sends me the bonus here, why Fauci should spend the rest of his life behind bars. All right, let's see who did that video. And, of course, it's Tucker Carlson. What a perfect end to a perfect text. He says, enjoy, plenty more where that came from. Well, there you have it. So, for those of you guys who were thinking that MAGA is going to have this F around and find out moment, I think you're going to F around and find out that that's not going to happen. These guys are not seeing what you're seeing, and they will continue not to see what you see. One thing you have to realize is that, unfortunately, you have to consider that different parts of this country might as well be living in a different universe, right? I don't think that's hyperbolic. I mean, obviously they're not literally living in a different universe, but the effects of what's happening are legitimately pretty close to what that would look like. Meaning, if you were in a different universe, you wouldn't be able to see the things happening in this universe, right? So people in this universe have the benefit of certain context that people in another universe would not. So regardless of their intelligence, they're not going to arrive at the same conclusions that you will because they haven't seen the things that you have. Now it goes both ways. There's certain things that, the people in that universe can see in their universe that you can't see. So there's certain things that, they'll have a tough time explaining to you, right? Because you just don't have the context, right? But this alternate universe sort of way things are in this country are going to shield Donald Trump. Can have a horrible 4 years. A lot of craziness happen, and every single thing that he does, that he's going to do, people like Ben Shapiro, Chris Williamson, Brett Weinstein, Tucker Carlson, they're all gonna, figure a way to highbrow explain how it makes sense, and every little bit's gonna be explained away. So people like this are either not even gonna be aware of what's happening, and if they are aware, the extent of their awareness is gonna be limited to the talking points that are gonna be created by these types of people that are very good at what they do. Strangely enough, even if Trump makes things very bad for the people that support him, they won't even really recognize a lot of it. The expression is, if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it really make a sound? I think that's kind of what we're dealing with. If Donald Trump ruins the life of a supporter, but the supporter doesn't believe that has he really ruined their life? Someone who's struggling now, after 4 years of Trump, if they're struggling even more, but in their minds they feel like they're doing better, has Trump really hurt them? Comment below. This is the Baby Channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well.